Good morning. It is Friday, the 22nd of January, 2021, and welcome to this week's Global Matters. Another week, another president. President Trump has moved out of the White House this week. We saw him flying off down to Florida just ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday, which passed off relatively peacefully with a ring of security around Washington. He wasted no time in signing several executive orders around the coronavirus and also rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, amongst others, starting off on a positive front foot there. We also had we heard from Janet Yellen, who's the new Treasury Secretary, who told us that America needs to act big, in her words, and should be spending their way through this, continuing challenging environment in the US and of course around the world. And we heard news of further news around the sort of $1.9 billion stimulus plan. That could see checks mailed out to most Americans, sort of $1,400 or so popped in the post for them to spend. So obviously that potentially has an effect down the line on things like inflation, and we saw the break even on 10-year treasuries rise to the highest level for several years to just over 2.16% or so, which has been steadily rising really since the lows that were plumbed last year. As for the US Treasury, it's been oscillating around that sort of 1.1 mark, but with inflation breakings going up, that means that the real yield has fallen back again a little bit. And that's put a bit of downward pressure potentially on the dollar, as well as it being relatively sort of risk on environment, still having the start of the year quite well. So the dollar's down, the dollar index is down a little bit over the week. And at the same time, we've seen some lifting in the euro and in the sterling, and the yen is fairly flat. Little to say on gold, up marginally over the week, and then in sort of risk assets and in equity markets, we've seen the US move a little bit more to the front foot. It was the UK that had started off the year the best, really on the back of that sort of Brexit news and the sort of cyclical rotation that had been going on. We've seen certainly the NASDAQ push forward again a little bit. This week we've had earnings numbers from a number of US companies. Earnings season has started. It's been a little bit mixed, but we've had some good numbers out across the different sectors. And year-on-year effects means that's or it will be getting quite big, particularly as we go through the year. Quarter-on-quarter effects, obviously, more meaningful at this time, and particularly as we look forward into sort of recovery year through 2021. So the US has sort of nudged ahead, if you like, this week versus other bourses, and is now sort of taking the lead again a little bit. So positive in that regard. So I think we'll wrap up there. Really, it's generally been a decent week. We've got PMI numbers just coming out at the moment as well, so we'll learn a little bit more over next week about the sort of forward expectations of different economies around the world. I wish you a very good weekend, and thank you for listening.